And you had people, and I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally. But you had many people in that group other than neo-Nazis and white nationalists.
The biggest problem with the Reform Party right now?
Well, you've got David Duke just joined, a bigot, a racist, a problem. I mean, this is not exactly the people you want in your party. And I've always said, Matt, that I would run if I thought I could win, and in order to win...
Not only the nomination, but the presidency.
The whole thing. I don't want to get 20% of the vote, and I think I could, and I know I could get the nomination. I mean, New York wants me, Texas wants me, many of the states want me, and they're rather devastated because they don't like the alternatives. But I always said, and I said to you, if I could win the whole thing, you can only win the whole thing with a totally unified party.
I totally disavow the Ku Klux Klan. I totally disavow David Duke. I've been doing it now for 2 weeks. You're probably about the 18th person that's asked me the question. It was very clear.
All right, let me ask you about this one. David Duke announced his Senate candidacy, claiming your agenda for his own, or essentially saying, glad that you spoke out.
Are you ready before you ask the question?
Newt Gingrich said, every Republican should repudiate this guy no matter what it takes.
And I do. Are you ready?
Would you support a Democrat over David Duke if that was what was necessary to defeat him?
I guess depending on who the Democrat, but the answer would be yes. Look, the answer is as quick as you can say it. In fact, I want to answer you before you
totally
ask the question. Because last time, with another person in your position, I did it very quickly, and they said he didn't do it fast enough. Rebuked. Is that okay? Rebuked.
Rebuked.
Done.
Done.
Okay.
Yes,
Mr. Trump, how do you feel about the recent endorsement from David Duke?
I didn't even know he endorsed me. David Duke endorsed me? Okay. All right. I disavow. Okay? Yes.
Honestly, I don't know David Duke.
Okay, so let me tell you. I'm sitting in a house in Florida with a very bad earpiece that they gave me, and you could hardly hear what he was saying. But what I heard was various groups, and I don't mind disavowing anybody, and I disavowed David Duke, and I disavowed him the day before at a major news conference, which is surprising because he was at the major news conference. CNN was at the major news conference, and they heard me very easily disavow David Duke. Now I go and I sit down again. I have a lousy earpiece that is provided by them. And frankly, he talked about groups. He also talked about groups. And I have no problem with disavowing groups, but I'd at least like to know who they are. It would be very fair to disavow a group, Matt, if the group shouldn't be disavowed. I have to know who the groups are. But I disavowed David Duke. Now, if you look on Facebook, right after that, I also disavowed David Duke. When we looked at it and looked at the question, I disavowed David Duke. So I've disavowed David Duke all weekend long on Facebook, on Twitter, and obviously it's never enough. I have no problem with disavowing groups, but I'd at least like to know who they are. It would be very fair to disavow a group, Matt, if the group shouldn't be disavowed. I have to know who the groups are. But I disavowed David Duke. Now, if you look on Facebook, right after that, I also disavowed David Duke. When we looked at it and looked at the question, I disavowed David Duke. So I've disavowed David Duke all weekend long on Facebook, on Twitter, and obviously it's never enough.
To put this to rest, how would you characterize in more words than one David Duke?
David Duke is a bad person who I disavowed on numerous occasions over the years. And the one question that was asked to me, I guess on CNN, he's having a great time, he talked about groups of people. And I don't like to disavow groups if I don't know who they are. I mean, you could have Federation of Jewish Philanthropies in groups. I don't know who the groups are. He's talking about disavow groups. And that's what I was referring to. But I disavowed him. I disavowed him. I disavowed the KKK. I just did the Today Show, and it was the same thing. And I said, how many times do I have to disavow? Do you want me to do it again for the 12th time?
Well, I wanted it on the record on this show. Let me follow up, and then I'll open it up to the table.
Just to put it clear, I disavowed him in the past, and I disavow him now. And it was very clear that I disavowed, but the press doesn't want to go with it. They just love the story. And by the way, if you look at my Twitter, which took place just about the same time as that show.
As I said on Saturday, we condemn in the strongest possible terms this egregious display of hatred, bigotry, and violence. It has no place in America. And as I have said many times before, no matter the color of our skin, we all live under the same laws. We all salute the same great flag, and we are all made by the same Almighty God. We must love each other, show affection for each other, and unite together in condemnation of hatred, bigotry, and violence. We must rediscover the bonds of love and loyalty that bring us together as Americans. Racism is evil, and those who cause violence in its name are criminals and thugs, including the KKK, neo-Nazis, white supremacists, and other hate groups that are repugnant to everything we hold dear as Americans. We are a nation founded on the truth that all of us are created equal. We are equal in the eyes of our Creator. We are equal under the law, and we are equal under our Constitution.